I was playing Dota 2 when I realized I needed to earn money by creating this video. Honestly, I don't have much to say about the episode in general because I think it was successfully adapted, albeit at the expense of skipping Subaru parkour moments. But since they've been doing it for a while, I don't care anymore. Additionally, they omit little things, such as Amelia freezing the track or using ice tools to hurry to the chapel, but I don't think anyone cares about those nuances. I say this because I only want to concentrate on the episode's key elements, the elements that actually contribute to a deeper comprehension of the narrative. But enough babbling, let's get started. In general terms, I loved this scene, but there were certain details that could have improved Sylphy's background and suffering. Her first response to Amelia's failure to beat Regulus was one of the intriguing elements omitted. Even though she tried to express it in the most serious and impersonal way possible, she couldn't help but laugh oddly, even though she didn't seem sad that Amelia couldn't keep her word. Amelia would eventually conclude that Sylphy still harbored hope because of this laugh. Her scene is extended when she says that one of the reasons she didn't have trust was because in the past, people had tried to save themselves by facing Regulus, but they evidently failed. Another great moment we missed out on, just like Subaru's parkour, was when Amelia, in her innocence and eagerness to find a way to break Regulus's control over his wives, suggested that maybe they just needed to remove the clothes and jewelry he had given them. Everyone was completely on board with the idea and had no issue undressing if that was what it took, but unfortunately, Amelia stopped them. The narrative does a better job of conveying Sylphy's distress shortly after Regulus's wives' hearts are exposed. She admits that she spent a long time studying Regulus's personality, trying to figure out what irritated him. She says she was fine with being his doll, and always believed that the only reason she had survived all those years of suffering was that her body had remained untouched. However, upon realizing that Regulus had, in a way, violated that without her consent, she felt immense fury and outrage, knowing that in the end, she could not even protect that. She ultimately reveals the reason she was chosen as the wives' representative. Girls used to play this part in order to keep the new wives safe. They kept them safe by giving them advice on how to have a pleasant marriage, or by instructing them how to avoid upsetting Regulus. The representative of the period assisted Sylphy when she joined, but it was inevitable that she would eventually perish at the whim of Regulus. Although the identity of the representative prior to Sylphy is unknown, it is known that, similar to Sylphy, a dark-skinned woman accompanied Regulus at the time of the attack on the fortified city of Goral, which occurs around 15 years prior to the first season. After the previous representative died, Sylphy chose to return the favor she had once received, and though some may find it hard to admit, she is the reason Amelia is still alive. Let us not forget that she was the one who covered for Amelia's mistakes when Regulus kidnapped her. Amelia was the first to realize this, and honestly, I cannot blame her for wanting to repay the debt. I wish there had been some confirmation about her fate after the Pristella arc, but we have no idea what happened to her after all this chaos. So, farewell, Sylphy. Let us move on to another scene. This scene, in my opinion, will have the most cuts because it omits multiple sequences and narrations about how Subaru was able to buy time for Amelia, in addition to completely removing Regulus's speech from the air, which, shockingly, was actually an interesting speech that helped us better understand his twisted way of thinking. Indeed, that was depicted in the anime, although let's say it made some changes. Anyway, let's get started. Anastasia's blueprints helped Subaru remember the city layout, which helped him have a sense of where he was. This allowed him to guide Regulus to key locations, like those that were distant from the shelters. He made all of this effort to avoid involving innocent individuals. Additionally, Subaru exploited the fact that Regulus was a sadist who liked to watch his victims suffer in front of him by hiding among the houses and taunting him, which caused him to attack the area and then have to wait for the smoke to clear before pursuing him further. Subaru chose to hurl himself to the ground during one of his final escapes, taking advantage of the fact that it took some time for the smoke to clear. Taking advantage of a minor injury he had sustained, he feigned that it was a serious one and that he was near death. Naturally, this is depicted in the anime, but only in the conclusion and not in the lead-up to the scene. It also describes how Subaru came up with a strategy to avoid Regulus strikes after learning the mechanics of his two powers. One small thing that I would have liked them to mention is that Amelia was rather concerned about Subaru when she returned to the battlefield since she thought his wound was severe. It's nothing serious, as I mentioned, but what else can I say? I enjoy Subaru and Amelia moments. Nevertheless, despite the anime's shortcomings, I thought this adaptation was unique in that it made it obvious that Emilia was prepared to take her own life. Indeed, this is also stated in the text, but it only mentions that she was adamant about doing it. The fact that she intended to employ an ice dagger is not mentioned or explained. I still like the dagger scene, even if it would be revealed later that her true aim was to freeze her own body for 100 years. The sequence when Emilia strikes Regulus 53 times was surprisingly complete, but the section where Regulus's strategy for a one-on-one battle with Subaru is revealed was left out. He didn't do it because he thought it was right. Instead, he intended to kill Subaru as soon as possible and then kill Emilia, using the shock of losing her knight to his advantage. The formal certification that Reinhard visited space and returned from the moon is then given to us when he arrives, which concerns me a little because it will rekindle arguments over power dynamics, and there will always be someone who compares Reinhard to Saitama. Putting aside the fandom's heated side, though, I would have preferred it if they had included one more of Reinhard's accomplishments that were left out of the adaptation. The knight says he is sure in his ability to jump because he once jumped from the ground onto the back of a dragon that was soaring above the clouds, as you can see when he leaps onto Regulus. This isn't a joke either. In fact, this occurred at the conclusion of Re-0x1, a story that delves into Crush history. When the story's antagonist attempts to flee on a dragon at the conclusion, Reinhard merely looked up at the dragon in the sky and declared that it would not be an issue. He then went on to accomplish the previously mentioned achievement. Now we come to one of the parts where I understand why they made cuts because, well, the original dialogue is a 3-page monologue, and the anime only animated around 15% of it. So here is one of the sections where I can see why they made changes. To further understand why this man is so deranged, you will hear a monologue from Regulus that covers his whole life to this point. Although I caution you that the nearly 7-minute talk will be lengthy, I also promise that it will be worthwhile. Thus, give it a thorough listen. Impossible, impossible, impossible. What's happening? It doesn't make any sense. Why am I being persecuted like this? Who do they think I am? I'm the witch cult's Archbishop of Greed, Regulus Corneus, the most fulfilled, the most complete individual, a being unwavering in body and spirit. So why must I suffer like this? This isn't some joke, you bastards. How the hell do all of you just accept this insanity as if it's completely normal? What's going on? All three of you. I show just a little bit of mercy and you start getting ahead of yourselves. There should be a limit to misjudging your own strength. If I had just been serious from the start, you would have been annihilated in the blink of an eye. This is why I hate dealing with other people. How can they not be ashamed of themselves for such a ridiculous misunderstanding? Bothersome, annoying, provocative, disagreeable, despicable, detestable, disgusting, loathsome dullards, the lot of them. I've gotten along just fine all these many, many years. Unlike those other fools, I've carried out my role as an archbishop for over a century now. My father who drowned himself in alcohol despite never earning a proper income. My mother whose only talent was griping day in and day out. And my vulgar brothers who were always after what was mine. When I was first chosen by the witch factor and gained my powers, I killed them all. And then I killed everyone else in the village who had ever looked at me with contempt. And then I killed everyone in the town who had forced me to live in such a pathetic home in such a worthless village. And then I destroyed the country whose incompetent stewardship had left towns and villages like that unaddressed. And once they were all gone, I was finally able to discover a way of life befitting one such as me. I do not need anything. Everything else is just an annoyance. I am content. It is not that I am lacking anything. I do not need anything. I don't need anything from you pushy scum. And yet you insist on forcing things upon me, as if I were some poor, pitiful creature who looked lacking, somehow incomplete. If I could live in a world devoid of all those fools trying to foist useless things upon me, in a world where everyone was just silent, that would be enough for me. Each and every one of those useless louts, always running their mouths about whatever they want. Who gave you walking piles of garbage the right to pity me? You think I'm content to just let you do that? I don't need and never asked for anything. Curse my father who could never earn a proper living and drowned himself in booze, but every once in a while bought me a present. Curse my mother whose only talent was grumbling about things day in and day out, and who had the nerve to apologize for troubling me every day, as if that somehow made it acceptable. Curse my damn brothers who were always after what was mine, but when they heard my stomach growling would try to share some of their own food. Enough with the bullshit. Treating me kindly only when it suits you. Anyone who looks down on someone else is trash, and any subhuman who has the gall to look down on their own family deserves to be held in contempt. They deserve to die. I'm not wrong. I didn't do anything wrong. You're wrong. You're the ones who pitied me and made me feel all alone. Enjoy a taste of the miserable feeling that comes with someone thinking you are the most pathetic and miserable person in the world. I can hear you laughing. You're looking at me, aren't you? You're looking at me with a sneer, aren't you? What's so funny? What about me do you find so ridiculous? Don't laugh at me, you trash. My wife didn't laugh. My first wife didn't smile no matter what. She just had a beautiful face. She just looked at me with that lovely face that she had since we were young. When I killed my family and her family and everyone who dared approach my wife, and the whole time we were alone together, she never once smiled. And that was fine. I don't need my wives to smile. I never did anything to make her laugh. It's fine not to laugh. Her face was beautiful without smiling, so she didn't have to smile. Wait, why are you smiling? Stop! Why did you sneer at the very last moment? Don't smirk. Don't you dare smirk at me. I'm not going to end up alone. You're my wife, so why are you sneering so pleasantly at me being alone again? Stop that. Don't pity me. Don't look down on me. I'm not the pathetic one. All of you are powerless, ignorant, and greedy. You're the pathetic ones. That pitiful greed that sends all of you scurrying and slithering here and there, frittering away your lives trying to fill the hole in your hearts. I'm different. I'm not like that. I don't want anything. In my satisfaction and fulfillment, I am far superior to all of you mired in your dissatisfaction and discontent. Even though you are all actually hopelessly jealous and envious and aspire and yearn to be like me, you're just too ashamed to admit that you can't hope to be like me. Obviously. Of course you all are. Wait. Stop. Don't look at me. Don't say my name. Don't talk about me. I don't care what you're saying. Just stop it. Don't focus on me. Just leave me alone. I'm complete and self-contained, meaning I can live without allowing others to trample on my heart. So why do you insist on connecting with me? We can't possibly understand each other. You and I are different people. It's illogical and impossible. What's wrong with your head? It should be obvious if you think about it at all calmly. It's just that everyone other than me has some odd fever. It should be obvious enough that wanting someone else is the ultimate exercise in futility, idleness, and pointlessness. All of you constantly spouting absurdities like love and romance and friendship and trust are just ruining the mood, and reproduction is the most disgusting idea imaginable. It doesn't make any sense. What exactly is the point? A baby or a child or family or whatever word you want to use to pretty it up. There's still just one more filthy creature to deal with. What is that supposed to mean to me? Nothing. There can't be any meaning. Love can't save anyone. People are alone from the day they're born until the day they die. The idea of understanding one another is just an illusion. Life is just a stupid game of balancing the scales in an obtuse dance of consideration and compromise. It would be stupid to just let other people look down on me. So I gathered only beautiful women at my side, and I'm not fool enough to take any who would betray me. So I chose only virgins. What else does there need to be? Don't spout any of that selfish crap at me. Not after infringing on my rights this much. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm not 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 wrong. I'm not. As I was composing this, I discovered that the author had verified that Regulus's first wife had killed herself. For added intrigue, in a different version of events, SUBARU defies Regulus's authority by setting his mansion on fire without Emilia's assistance. Once everyone was aware of the Archbishop's vulnerability, each of his wives willingly dove into the fire. Let's move on to the other segments of the episode that were eliminated. It's important to note that it appears Regulus went more than a century without eating. When it is said in the book that he drank water for the first time in a long time, this is validated. Only the scene where SUBARU and Emilia converse following Regulus's defeat is left after this. Although SUBARU's discourse effectively illustrates Emilia's transformation over the previous year, it would have been intriguing to incorporate additional dialogue. For instance, SUBARU's affirmation and resolve to start over in the event of a death in his loved ones. Emilia soothes the protagonist, who was anxious and reluctant to go aid his other comrades, by telling him that he must also believe in and trust others, and not assume that he can accomplish all by himself, or else he will become another Regulus. Emilia telling SUBARU to quit putting himself down is another touching moment. This occurs when the main character, the failure, begins to claim that he had no role in Regulus's downfall. However, the most interesting part was the omission of a dialogue from this scene. This exchange demonstrates that Subaru felt something cling to his heart at that precise instant following Regulus's passing. He believes that when he vanquished Betelgeuse, he experienced the same emotion. This is a big spoiler, so read the comments to find out what it's about. Let's wrap up with today's break, though. I must admit that I wasn't particularly fond of this week's break time. In this instance, they utilized today's break time to adapt something wholly irrelevant to the Pristella dispute. Even if I get that the anime adapts everything it can and then utilizes break time to address what wasn't shown. However, at least it keeps us updated on Petra's activities as the city of Watergates is in a state of disarray. It was mentioned at the beginning that Petra would accompany Roswal to a conference in order to obtain the collective support of the clown's entire realm for Amelia. They brought the country's most renowned chef and her assistant, Diaz, because it was a crucial meeting. Diaz is the chief chef even though she is billed as the assistant. She purposefully conceals her true identity, nevertheless, because of the racism and stigma against elves like her. The meeting and initial acquaintance between her and Petra are shown in this break time. Since this is actually Diaz's second encounter with the main cast, it's a little difficult to defend this specific tale. However, I'm happy that they're adapting the side stories that occurred during Season 3. She had previously been to the estate and prepared meals for all of the girls there, according to the novel. Subaru actually dressed like a girl for the first time in Lagunica in order to attend the dinner, which was a girl-only affair. It's as if today's break time is fascinating, but only for readers who have read the book and are aware of the earlier occurrences. But those are a minority, hopefully. This break time will be engaging for anime-only viewers. But tell me, what do you think of this episode?